on the Barnoldswick YouTube channel, on the live stream.
We are now at least.
We are now at least. You mean we weren't?
Yeah.
No, we're not doing it again. It's number 5.
Okay.
It should be good.
Apologies for anybody who is
Yes.
now joining us on the live stream.
There you go.
We have been having some technical difficulties. This is the third time. We're not going to restart the meeting, but we're just waiting for somebody to put the gear in a cupboard behind us, and then we'll get going again. So far, the items that we've had are open forum, and I've said if anybody on the watching the live stream wants to ask any questions, put it in the chat, pick it up at the end of the meeting, do what we can. We've agreed the minutes of the last meeting. We're just talking about environmental schemes. The Town Council, with support from Pendle Council, has funding for water fountains in Leckley Park and Victory Park, and we have agreed that the colour of those new water fountains, not ornamental drinking fountains like what we've got on the town square, will be green. Councillor Tom Whip made a plea for a poll on Facebook to choose the colour, but we've quashed that in a very authoritarian fashion and said no, we're having green. So we're just wondering, are there any further environmental schemes that we need to discuss? I think everything's either been done or has been done, and we're sort of winding up any planting that there may be. Okay, so I'm going to move on then to item 6, and that's the events programme. In terms of the current financial year, item 7 is about the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, so we'll pick up about those events in the new year on the next item. Is there any discussion on events that we've held recently? Since our last meeting, we had the Switch On event, which was hugely successful, very well received, innumerable plaudits from people both online and in person, and the perception that it was the most well attended that we've ever had, and people saying it was the best yet. So we look forward to doing it all again in another year. Councillor Tom Whip.
We might need to consider a change of venue for next time round, because getting people back onto the square after the parade was difficult. And I mean, there was people on Newtown and Raynell Road for a long time, in on the way around,
and probably there's people watch at the side of the roadside, and then they sort of come into the square for the final count. I mean, frankly, I can't see that we could do it anywhere else than the town square. We leave as much space open for people to stand. There is a difficulty in getting people to move forward. I mean, this year, for the first time in several years, I was at the front of the parade because of the difficulty that we'd had last year. And I noticed that there were quite a few voids in the crowd, and people weren't filling those. The end of Albert Road, bottom of Frank Street, and they were able to progress forward, so they were quite tightly packed. But when you were actually on the square itself, there was a lot of space in between groups, and sort of getting people to come that little bit further on and then make space for those behind was
There's a couple
something.
of extra marshals or something like that around that
Yeah.
time, just to...
And the other thing I'd suggest, Mike, is megaphones.
Yeah.
So
Minor point as well about the parking blocking Raynell Centre.
well, that was frustrating, yeah.
it could have been a lot more if there was more stuff to be moved at that point, etc. Is there anything else, even just bollards or whatever?
We could have left our van there, that blocked it.
Well, unfortunately, when I went back with, having done I think there were 2 times I couldn't get in, but the second time was after I'd been round with the road closed signs to all the places where we needed them, and it was already parked up, and it had been parked up previously. So I couldn't have put the van in at the time when it was getting towed.
Is it a private drive?
Yes.
So we could arrange for some bollards to be put in each side.
Well,
Because there shouldn't be parking on that bit.
I think I don't think bollards would be practical, to be honest. I mean, it is private in the sense that it is owned by the properties at either side of the roadway. It's the access into the Raynor Centre. It was surfaced by Pendle Council as a sort of something for the public good some time ago. I'm probably going back 25 years, but it's not adopted. But then getting agreement from the neighbouring landowners to do something like putting bollards in. Good luck with that one.
If it's not adopted, is it still highway?
It's highway, but it's not adopted highway.
Yeah.
But it might only be highway for the purposes of the pedestrian street through the Ginnel. My suggestion would be...
I mean, a bollard will stop someone parking there.
Is there any chance I can get some hot water? Yeah.
Can you not use the...
No.
No.
No. Sorry.
No. Okay. Well, could I suggest
I
that...
think we just park one of our vehicles. One of ours.
That would solve it.
It would solve it.
Without question,
It's
yeah.
cheaper.
Yeah.
We only have a problem with that at one end, don't we?
As long
So
as
you start putting hatchings on, every couple of years we have to re-put the hatchings on, which is the cost.
It's not been an ongoing issue, has it?
No, it's the first.
Once occurred.
Yeah, the last thing was someone parking there, we told them about that.
Well,
It's a bit...
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, if we could just park one of our vehicles there, that would solve it. Once we told the police, it would get towed away and whatever.
Well, it won't get towed away because it's not adopted highway, so it is an obstruction. I mean, there is an issue in that it don't want to be obstructed at any time.
Yeah.
Because that is the only exit out of the car park at the back of the Raynor Centre. So, if you had a fire. But, yeah. Practical solution. Lucky toppers sells.
Yeah.
If it's the only day we have an issue,
Well, I don't think it is the only day that there is an issue.
yeah, that's not for us to solve, is it? That's what the Reynolds have to solve.
Well, it's a problem when we've got a hire van and I can't get into the Raynor Centre because there's a bar vehicle there, which has happened. Well, it is our
It's not our
problem.
problem to solve, really. If the land doesn't belong to us, it's not our car park, it's not our
Yeah.
drive, it's not our...
But it's my problem. I've got a hire van with gear to go back into the store at the Raynor Centre, town council gear, and I can't get in.
Then we should be raising the issue with the Raynor Centre because it's the issue is with the Raynor Centre, not with the town council.
Well, I think the issue is with the people who are parking
Well,
there.
yes, but it's...
And the Raynor Centre have no control over that, so, I mean, there is a particular commercial property that I think is one of the regular offenders. Well, there are 2 of them now, so...
Look at me.
They were actually up on the curbs at both sides, which was the only way they could get even pedestrian access through.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
everything.
yeah, the should have been there. Okay, right. Flag it as an issue. I did send round a sort of like a learning point list, which had loads of stuff on it. But we'll just stacked up as problematic. Any further discussion on the events? I mean, the last one we had was obviously last weekend, Christmas market. Well received, very busy, and I would chalk it up as a success. Very good. John?
Just a slight thing on it. The trail with the letters in the windows and things. I heard quite a few people saying that the handling was quite difficult, and kids really couldn't solve it themselves.
Well,
Sorry, because my Rebecca texted me at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning and said, Mum, what does it spell?
It's fine as long as it's like in order, so you can just read it.
yes.
And then if you've missed, you can't find one, at least you can
Yeah.
find it, isn't it? But if you missed a couple of letters, you couldn't find them, then you have
Yeah.
to chance to solve it now.
Yeah. I
But that's
mean,
the thing, just a few people, just, as I was figuring it out myself, it was
yes.
a few comments.
It wasn't helped by some of the people setting folk off who hadn't appreciated that it was an anagram. So I'm giving people a sheet and saying, well, you go around, you get these letters, and it spells out a Christmas phrase. And then people were saying, well, it don't make any sense. No, that would be quite good.
And the further difficulty was whoever was number 10 on the Sunday had taken their down to the window.
But also, maybe having a picture of what the actual post we're looking for should look like on the sheet as well. So this is the kind of thing you're looking for, because obviously several shops have got maybe 10 notices, and kids aren't not necessarily that.
Yeah, I mean, in my blurb at the beginning, I was saying, because the map itself, the trail map, was similar in colour and size and everything to the clue, and it was the 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in... Yes, so people were advised that somebody accosted me and said, well, I can't understand it, and I looked at what they'd written down, and I said, no, neither can I. I gave them a clue as to what the piece on Earth phrase was, without actually telling them it was piece on Earth. Okay, anything further on that one? No, good, right. UK Shared Prosperity Fund. We have got a positive response on UK Shared Prosperity Fund. What we haven't got is a funding agreement in place. The indications are that we have, following the bid that we made, we have funding over a 3-year period, totalling about £48,000, which is for a series of winter events commencing in January 2023, which would be based on arts and crafts, and October it was.
Grant been submitted for 3 years of events for these months, provisional dates.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well,
Was it because we had to agree to the extra
sorry,
month?
Callum.
Yes.
It's because we had to agree to the extra month, didn't we,
So it
in order
must have
to
been
get
last
the
month.
funding.
Right. So
So we had to put one on in February or something like
yeah,
that.
they wanted us festival arts and crafts in February, and we've got Barnoldswick in Wonderland in March. The issue is that we got an email today to say that the government, who only confirmed the sort of 3.6 million for Pendle a couple of weeks ago, was it? Yeah. Still haven't got the memorandum of understanding, so Pendle Council haven't actually got the cash yet. As a consequence, Barnoldswick Town Council isn't going to get the funding agreement in place before Christmas. Our first event is programmed for the 21st of January.
It's like it's subject to.
subject to this, subject to that, and subject to the other.
Right.
Yeah. Now, in any event, the town council needs to put in £8,000. Rough and round figures, it's £10,000 per event, and we've got 22 grand. So, within the town council coffers, we've got the £20,000 income, which is over and above we budgeted for from Bands on the Square. We budgeted 50,000 and the actual income was 70,000. So there's £20,000 there, and at the January meeting of the town council, because it's not up to this committee, my suggestion would be to utilise £8,000 to provide the match funding. Now, even if we haven't got the certainty of funding, and it'd be within the resources that the town council has, and that would be subject to the agreement of the town council on the 14th of January.
Unless it's 11th.
11th, put my hand up. It's sometime second week in January.
Do we think that
Mike.
by the sorry, David.
Yeah. Mike.
Do we think that by the 14th or whenever the town council meeting is, we will have a definitive answer, even if we haven't got the cash? Because the idea I'm thinking is that £20,000 you just mentioned, we could fund the entire of the first event, which would include our £8,000 and a bit more.
There isn't 20,000 on.
Oh, okay.
We're already mentioned it.
Yeah, we're going to be using some of it anyway. So, but with the 8,000, I mean, if the funding didn't come through, then we're not the other event because we can't afford them. But we could manage the first one. The problem is that we're having to organise this at risk. So we're saying to people, well, you know, like the ice sculpture companies, they're saying, well, we've got this event, but we can't absolutely book you. But, you know, can you put it in your diary, because we're pretty certain that we will have the funding.
I think we can bring it in at 8. I just think some stuff will have to be a bit more conservative.
Especially if we've got January, we can then.
Yeah.
It was more like saying yes, but you couldn't say,
No.
you wouldn't put yes in writing to me, because if I then turn around and say, well, where's my money?
Yeah. And I mean, what he was saying today is, well, he says, you know, this, that and the other, but, and my manager's got flu, and so I'm not sure if I'm going to get a direction from his manager before Christmas. So, a bit hopeless, if you ask me. Sorry, Joe, you...
No, I'm saying, do we have the authority to spend up to the 8, and then obviously if it gets pulled, then that's it, the other two just get knocked on the head, but we'll try and keep it within that budget.
Yeah.
Well, I think the 8 is subject to the town council agreeing it. But, I mean...
This is the town council.
Well, but it's a committee meeting rather than a council meeting, so, you know, if we're confident that, you know, the will support it, we can continue at risk, but I don't think we actually confirm, you know, technically, we can't give...
We could do.
I'm sure that would be relished.
It's under the one item, Joanne.
We'd have to know something about statutory.
Hang on, sorry, Callum, what did you say?
It's 20 councils. Isn't it last drinking council
No.
events?
No. You could have a convivial get-together afterwards. But anyway. What do people want to do?
If it's just a single item,
It can't be, we'd have to put finance and the rest of it on one way.
No, if it's an extraordinary item, an extraordinary council meeting, you just have the purposes for which it was called.
Right, okay.
You don't have all the rest of it, and it's in the standing orders that you can only discuss.
Right, okay.
yeah, could we do that?
Yeah.
If we want to put number 8, that's what we'll have to do, because
That's
we
what
can't.
we do. Then
Tom, can you get that?
You're going to be working, aren't you?
Yeah.
No,
I can make it.
I'm saying, can't we zoom it?
Right.
No, 7.
No, it has to be in person.
No.
legally.
How many of us here come in?
21st.
Yeah, I think next one.
Yeah.
Special council meeting.
I just think if you were to cover
Yeah,
that sort of spending,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
it makes everything regular. And, I mean, you know, in my dreams, Rishi Sunak will sign off our event in good time and we're hunky-dory. Of course he will. Yeah. Special council meeting.
Give him 20% first.
It's a job
Yeah.
tonight and there's
And I'll
no
get it out
signatures.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
You probably
Yeah.
may if you're on a postal
Yeah.
strike, so I will email it
Yeah.
and send it in the post.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be around with a vehicle tomorrow. So
Okay, that's
I'm
super.
there,
Could you
so,
contact them and tell them website?
If,
yeah.
That's all on today.
if it helps to get more people here, if it is going to be a quickie job, can it be at some other time of day, or
No,
is this
it's
best?
our time. Okay.
Well, you could have it an alternative time of day, but I think people work in.
As long as that's all right, you know.
Yeah, we could
With everybody.
do it early in the evening,
Times
but people do work, so yeah. Okay, so
Sounds like a plan.
if we do get the agreement to the full council, and if the
Yeah.
So Ice and Fire theme would be The Hobbit, and we've got a whole list of different Hobbit activities, including circus skills that are can only be participated in by people of Hobbit side. So Callum and I would be good for that
He
one.
wouldn't even have to dress up.
No.
Yes.
That's all got on this one,
Okay.
Sounds really close. Yeah.
In terms of coming back to the shared prosperity fund, I think it's a shared poverty fund. The other two events, the February Festival of Arts and Crafts is what Joe suggested, having seen something similar in France.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
do you want to just outline?
They just had the village full of people doing things like forging and stone carving and whatever they did, they then had like a stall that sold, so they were like doing someone doing calligraphy. So there's like a lady who does watercolour classes, she can put some classes on and then she can sell her artwork alongside it. Just things like that.
Yeah.
Showcasing local
Mhm.
talent.
Yeah.
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 Any blacksmiths?
Any
Blacksmiths.
blacksmiths? Yeah, we've got Esther.
Stone carver was doing a sign to go into the village, so it was permanent, which is
Yeah.
quite nice.
They could,
Yeah.
they could get one for on court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
This is Yorkshire.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Moving swiftly on. Moving swiftly on. If there's nothing else on the shared prosperity fund, we're moving on to item 8. Other projects. Any updates that we've got on projects? We've already boxed off the water fountain.
Yeah.
What else have we got?
I've written to 3
Aiden's now.
companies for the Clare and Aidan Drive. One's come back to me today. Most of them finished for Christmas time. So, on with that. What else is there? Heat banks, we've got an issue that as much as I have emailed Lancashire with every single person that's replied, none of them are on the website.
The ones on the county council website, are they all just the county council stuff?
No, there's loads of churches on there across Lancashire,
Right.
loads of different things. Just none of our listings have got on there.
Okay. I think Pendle Council have something similar,
Do they?
so you could send that through to the
Yeah.
communications team at Pendle. You might do a bit more with it. Yeah. Are there any other projects that people think, what's happened with this or what's happened with that? In terms of the area across here, the clock, I think it might be timely for us to remind the clock repair person that we will be expecting the clock tower back in March, ready for the clock change at the end of March. So
Which
that,
March?
5th March 2023.
Can we have it after the change?
No.
Just before?
No, I think we need to test that it actually changes the time when it gets to it.
Are you putting this in a minute?
So it'll be a
Yeah.
day.
It gets worse. Any more? Right, anybody not managed one yet?
Right, we don't have time for
Well, I think...
And another one chimes up.
Oh, yes. That's bringing us towards the end of the agenda. Are there any other projects that we want any updates on? So, John?
This is something that I kind of mentioned a long time ago, probably just as COVID stopped everything from working. But there's been a lot of talk about speeding again, as a main kind of issue. A long time ago, I floated the idea of getting the police involved and doing one of those things that where they get kids from the primary school and as they catch a speeder, they can
Give them a
they
lecture.
get a choice, either get a ticket or they can tell the kids whether they're speeding, that kind of thing. And just wonder if anybody else had any kind of interest in something that's worth doing.
Hang on, Callum.
We did a couple of events on Calvert Road when we were pushing for the Pelican Crossings. And we got the Schools Partnership Education Enforcement Day team to have a speeding camera, a trained officer, and then do it all through restorative justice rather than ticketing. But take them through the process and whatever. And then the last one we did was the kids from school came out and just basically said, "Why are you speeding past my school?" Really, really powerful, really good, really good. Well, there's easy to set up.
One at a time.
It's easy to set up.
Yeah.
Callum? No? Chris?
Well, just to say, there's a couple of hot spots in town that always come up at Pendle and the area committee, and they usually certain people are shouting something should be done, and never does much more than shout. So if there is something that we can, anything creative on the ground that we can do, then yeah, all for it.
Okay. Can I suggest then that we approach the Lancashire Road Safety Partnership with a view to requesting their support, together with the local police sergeant, James Graham? I'm not sure I've got his name right, but see whether they would be willing to participate in a programme of activity. We could cover several locations. Right.
Yeah, I think
Just 1 second, I'll draw. We've got somebody come through the door who might not be an authorised entrant to the building. Tom, you wanted to come in?
Yeah. If we go into Road Safety Partnership, I would say again, can we get some tactical urbanism, which is a technique where you take sort of temporary bollard.
Okay. Tom, can I suggest that we pick that up separately with the county council? So what Tom was suggesting is something called tactical urbanism,
Right.
and it's where you put temporary obstructions to try and
You can do it with cones. I mean, it just goes at flood container, get a bunch of cones out and see if you put a curve here, does it slow traffic down? Save a child.
you won't find any cones down at the flood containers because we've relocated them, which reminds me that there's still 3 out at the back of Albert Road that somebody missed on Sunday. Anyway, yes. Okay, so we'll take that up with County Council and tackle the Lancashire Road Safety Partnership and the police in terms of the strategy that we were talking about before that. Are we content with that? Yeah?
one of my colleagues who's retiring soon, and he's just picked up the road safety leader for Lancashire Road Safety Partnership.
Oh, right.
Oh.
And he's sat on the National Fire Chiefs Council for Road Safety for the last 3 or 4 years, so
Okay.
I'll have a tap into talking for him.
Yeah, how soon is he retiring?
Sure.
Good, thank you very much. Is there anything further? Could I ask Tom if there are any questions on the chart? None?
No.
in which case, can I thank everybody for their attendance this evening. Thank everybody who managed to come along and disrupt the meeting in one way or another. Thank you. Anybody watching the live stream either now or in the future, and declare the meeting closed and wish you all a safe journey home. Thank you.
Take it, John. It's only because the time's earlier than the other